In recent months, America has been inundated with anything and everything to do with the nominating process, used to select the Democratic and Republican nominees for President of the United States. We've had several primaries and caucuses already, and today there is yet another one in South Carolina. Our own primary, Connecticut, is on February 5th, on Tsunami Tuesday. As this long and arduous process continues, we as American citizens and we as a nation are forced to confront how effective the primary system, how effective the nominating process is in choosing the candidates to best lead their parties in the presidential election. To do this, we can apply the four-way test. The first question of the four-way test asks, is it the truth? In regards to the nominating process in the primary system, we can ask, does it promote the telling of truth? Does the nominating process create an environment conducive to truthfulness, openness, and honesty? The answer here, in my view, is no. There is simply too many regional differences in the primary process, too much necessity for special interest support to create a truthful and open environment. Candidates constantly have to recraft and repackage their positions in order to appeal to particular groups. In the Republican Party, every 4 years recently, we see a scramble to appeal to the social conservative evangelical base. And when you have differences in states like Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, there's a lot that goes on, and candidates have to rethink what they say and rethink what they think in order to appeal to certain voters. And that doesn't create a truthful environment. It doesn't create an open and honest arena. The second question asks, is it fair to all concerned? There are three central flaws in the primary system that make it a blatantly unfair system. The first is the vicious cycle of money and media. Candidates often need to raise a lot of money to be taken seriously by the media, but they often need media coverage to expose themselves to a larger number of Americans and potential donors. Very few candidates can climb out of this cycle. The second flaw is that it's unfair to voters. States are left out. We've had an Iowa caucus, a New Hampshire primary, a Nevada caucus, and today is another Democratic primary in South Carolina. That's 4 states, if you don't count Wyoming, which no one does. That's 4 states that have voted so far or will be voting, and we see a large part of the nomination has already been determined. And this is in a year when things have been considered more crazy than they normally are. So you look at a vote like Connecticut, you look at a state like Connecticut, you look at voters in this state, we don't have nearly as much a say in the process as voters in other states do. So most of the country, most eligible citizens are left out of this nominating process. And for the same reason, this is unfair to the candidates. Chris Dodd and Joe Biden dropped out after Iowa, Bill Richardson after New Hampshire, Dennis Kucinich, to my surprise, actually dropped out a couple days ago. You've had Tom Tancredo and Duncan Hunter and Fred Thompson dropping out on the Republican side. Candidates go through 3 or 4 states, they don't do well, they have to leave, and that's unfair to their bids for the presidency. The third question, will it build goodwill and better friendships? I think this is where the primary process, believe it or not, actually does well. Yes, we've seen animosity between campaigns, but a couple weekends ago, I took a 3-hour drive with a friend of mine and his mom up to New Hampshire to volunteer for Barack Obama. I really believe in his campaign, and I wanted to do my part and get involved in the democratic process, even though I can't vote yet. And when I walked into that office in Keene, New Hampshire, there were people coming in from Pennsylvania, from other parts of New Hampshire, from Vermont, from Maine, from Massachusetts, all over to get behind a particular candidate. And at the end of the day, it brings people in their parties together behind their candidate. So it does promote unity, it does promote a proliferation of ideas, and it does provide an opportunity for people who believe in a common cause to meet people with the same ideals from across the nation. The fourth question asks, is it beneficial to all concerned? Now, I'm of the opinion that at the end of the day, nothing can really be beneficial to everybody. Somebody's got to get the short end of the stick. But the question is, how short is the end of the stick that we're giving them? And in this instance, you really get a bum deal if you're a presidential candidate. Because if you can't raise the money, and if you're not a superstar like the candidates in both parties are now, you're not going to be taken seriously by everyone involved in the process. And that makes it very difficult for you to get your ideas out to the general public. So what we can do, what the system can do, is give each candidate the benefit of a fair and sound process. They don't have the benefit of that fair and sound process currently, so that means that this is a particularly non-beneficial system. There are solutions to the problems here, or at least steps we can take that move toward solutions. In the area of truthfulness, we have to minimize the role of special interests and regional differences. In that way, we provide candidates with a forum where they can express their ideas as they want to express them without worrying about who likes them or not, just worrying about what they really think. In the area of fairness, there are lots of ideas about rotating primary schedules, regional primaries, national primaries, things that make it easier for a candidate to stay in longer and get his or her ideas out to more people. And the media has to be more committed to giving every candidate in the field good coverage. And if we create this fair system, this sound system, we give every candidate the benefit of that system, and we can at least make it a somewhat beneficial system. The four-way test is a relatively simple test, but in its simplicity, it speaks volumes about what we as Americans and we as citizens value. And if we apply the four-way test to this primary process, the nominating process, we can see its flaws, we can see its successes, and we can see how we as a nation and we as citizens can start to address the issue of getting a more accountable system for presidential candidates in this country. Thank you.